Brenda Shad stands out both in acting and on the catwalks. With roots in the Choctaw and Cherokee tribes, she carries a cultural heritage that enriches her path. In addition to her work in campaigns and fashion shows, her commitment goes beyond the world of fashion and entertainment. She created the Native American Children's Fund in Oklahoma, where she channels efforts to support Native communities. At the beginning of the 20th century, a striking dance style emerged among the Mille Lacs band of Ojibwe. Around the 1900s, its steps took shape, and by the 1920s, it was drawing more and more attention. This cultural expression spread through the states of Wisconsin and Minnesota, in the Great Lakes region of the United States, becoming a fundamental part of local traditions and gaining space in different communities. Elsie Vance Chestuan was born in 1873 and was given the indigenous name Chestuan. This identity revealed a strong connection with her family, as she was the daughter of Dilth Clay, a member of a lineage considered noble among the Apaches. Dilth Clay, in turn, was the direct heir of Biduya, the legendary Apache chief also known as Victorio, or called Beduyat. In 1882, in what was then called the Indian Territory, Wanada Parker Page was born. She received the indigenous name Wanada Parker, which in the Comanche language means rise up and be strong. That name was not chosen at random. From a very young age, Wanada needed courage to deal with hardships that tested her determination. In 1906, Cayutees lived among the Caddo, a people whose ancestral lands extended through Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. Agriculture was fundamental in this community's life, serving both as an economic base and an essential part of its culture. Although they cultivated strong internal relationships, they kept a certain distance from outside visitors, preferring to protect the knowledge and practices that upheld their identity. The Miami people are a North American indigenous nation, linked to the Algonquian language family. They are part of a group of native communities commonly referred to as the Great Lakes tribes, living for many years in a territory that today corresponds to the state of Indiana. Their presence in the region reflects an important chapter in indigenous history, marked by customs and traditions passed down over time. In this image captured by C.S. Fly, we see a series of figures that carry remarkable stories. From left to right are Martin, Chapo, Geronimo's son, Fun, and finally Geronimo himself. Fun, known for his courage in battle, took part in decisive confrontations and faced challenges on both sides of the border. In this 1901 image, we see Chief Joseph, a leadership figure among the Nez Perce, photographed in Oregon by Lee Morehouse. Morehouse had a habit of capturing scenes that depicted the life and customs of various indigenous peoples in the early 20th century. Here, Chief Joseph appears in a way that conveys his importance within the tribe and the manner in which he exerted his authority. In 1948, the Pendleton Rodeo Roundup was already known for bringing together competition, tradition, and a strong sense of community. That year, a special moment caught everyone's attention: the parade of the indigenous princesses. They appeared proudly displaying their heritage, turning the avenue into a living stage of color and symbolism. Ella Cara Deloria was born on January 31, 1889, and passed away on February 12, 1971. She was also known by her Sioux name, Ang Patu Waist Wing, which means beautiful day woman. Of Yankton Sioux origin, she embraced various fields of knowledge throughout her life. From an early age, Deloria showed an interest in education and her people's cultural roots, which led her to build a career that combined research, teaching, and writing. She worked as an anthropologist, ethnographer, linguist, novelist, and educator, developing a profound body of work aimed at valuing and preserving the Sioux heritage. Nietzsche was born in 1856, the youngest of the recognized Apache leader Cochise's sons. He also carried the blood of Mangus Colorados, as his mother, Dos Tese, was the daughter of this other influential Apache chief. From an early age, he experienced the tensions that were forming between his people and white settlers, which led him to participate in several attacks against these groups. These clashes reflected the challenging scenario of the time, in which indigenous tribes found themselves increasingly pressured to protect their lands and traditions. Chief American Horse, recognized as the youngest to hold that title, has a story that sparks interest from the earliest records. His path led him to the Carlisle Indian Industrial School, a famous institution that welcomed students from various North American tribes. A member of the Oglala Lakota, he was born in 1840 in the Black Hills region of South Dakota, a territory of immense spiritual and cultural value for his people. The Bannocks are an American indigenous community that, for many generations, established their home in the vast area of the Great Basin, encompassing southeastern Oregon and southern Idaho. This territory includes deserts, valleys, and mountains that, over time, shaped every aspect of local inhabitants' lives. Amid this diverse environment, the Bannocks developed hunting, gathering, and social techniques that ensured their survival and strengthened their cultural ties. In 1967, Brigham Young University, BYU, experienced a milestone, the first Miss Indiana pageant. This competition was organized by the Tribe of Many Feathers Club, a group dedicated to highlighting and valuing indigenous culture within the institution. During Indian Week, a special event declared by BYU that year, the pageant became one of the highlights of the program, drawing attention and participation from students. Irontail was photographed in 1916, at a time when his presence had great significance for the Oglala, a subgroup of the Lakota Sioux. This photograph reveals not only the features of an individual, but also a crucial moment in the history of a community that was facing profound changes. The image captures the posture and expression of a leader who carried traditions and responsibilities. In Cheyenne tradition, two items hold a central place in the people's spirituality: the four sacred arrows called mahouts and the sacred buffalo hat, known as esavone. These are not mere symbols, as some believe they carry mystical properties capable of influencing the community's life. The arrows represent masculine power, conveying strength and direction in rituals and beliefs. The Quechan, also known as Yuma, call themselves Quechan, an expression that means those who descend. They are an American Indian tribe strongly rooted in the Fort Yuma Indian Reservation, an area bathed by the lower Colorado River. This territory extends through Arizona and California, just north of the Mexican border. In the heart of a vast territory called Comancheria, the Comanche people developed a nomadic way of life that relied on careful observation and planning. Each campsite was chosen based on crucial factors such as safe travel routes, protection against threats, access to natural shelters, an abundance of nearby food sources, and enough pasture for horses and other animals. In the early 1900s, photographer N.A. Forsyth captured a unique moment. Flathead tribe dancers gathered in Montana, about to begin a traditional dance. The image, besides showing the preparation and typical clothing, highlights the importance of this place to the history and culture of the Flathead people. Every detail in the clothing and each movement plays a fundamental role in ceremonial practices, reflecting the tribe's spiritual depth and identity. During Theodore Roosevelt's inauguration in March 1905, a memorable moment took place that reinforced the relevance and recognition of American indigenous peoples. In that solemn parade, 6 highly esteemed tribal chiefs crossed Pennsylvania Avenue in Washington, D.C., each representing their community and its values. In 1908, Edward Curtis captured a scene that reflects the care and closeness between mother and child in the Absaroki tribe, also known as the Crow. The mother holds the baby with a serenity that speaks volumes about the culture and the passing down of values within that community. This brief moment, immortalized in a photograph, goes beyond a simple family portrait. It represents the living heritage of a people and the strength of the maternal bond. elements Curtis sought to highlight throughout his work dedicated to American indigenous cultures. In this historic 1888 photograph by Frank A. Randall, we see an Apache woman in what at the time was known as the region that today corresponds to New Mexico and Arizona. The photo reveals valuable details about the appearance and traditional clothing of Apache women of that period, offering a rare glimpse into the daily life of a people whose traditions continue to inspire interest and respect. At the beginning of the 20th century, Black Eagle stood out among the Crow for his firm leadership and the respect he earned wherever he went. His presence was marked by a confident demeanor that conveyed the responsibility of leading and inspiring. He wore traditional attire that expressed the value of his culture, featuring carefully crafted patterns and symbolic colors of his people's identity. At the end of the 19th century, in a small clearing in the forest, a father prepared his son for the future. The scene showed Mato Wanarsaka, a respected instructor known for his skill with the bow, guiding the boy on how to position his body and steady the arrow. At that moment, more than a lesson in hunting or defense, he conveyed a value that spans generations. The land feeds us and reflects what we do with it. At the beginning of the 20th century, a woman from the Washo tribe appears next to a child, possibly her son or daughter. She carries the responsibility and tranquility of someone who lives in harmony with her community's traditions. Her attire, typical of the Washo people, is modest and suited to the tasks that make up daily life, reinforcing the importance of culture in every detail of her routine. In 1919, amid the ancient cliff dwellings of Manitou in Colorado, a Tewa couple celebrated their union in accordance with traditions passed down through generations. The ceremony was laden with symbolism, as every detail honored the Tewa people's history and culture. The location, a sacred place rich in memories, further emphasized the sense of continuity and respect for their ancestors. The Yamparika Comanches became known for including roots in their diet, a practice that sustained their way of life. Along the Arkansas River, they found sufficient resources to hunt, gather, and maintain their traditions. Initially, they occupied areas north of the river's headwaters, but over time they moved to regions that today correspond to eastern Colorado and western Kansas.